So I have to re-ink fountain pens, but I also just got diamine inks and I want to swatch them. So the diamine inks were purchased based off of people's recommendations for what to put in my Parker and my Schaefer. This is also the first video that I'm trying out a new microphone, so I hope the audio is okay. Let me know if it's not, and I will ditch the mic and go back to how I normally do videos. So I ended up getting 3 diamine inks because they came as a set. The set was Aurora Borealis, Celadon Cat, and Earl Grey. Celadon Cat and Earl Grey were the colors I wanted. I like matching my ink and my pens. It makes me happy. And the Waterman I have is very much like a silvery gray pen, and I think it'll look great with Earl Grey. And the Schaefer I have is the gray version, but it is quite blue, and I think it'll look quite good with Celadon Cat. So I'm not inking them up today, mostly because I need practical pens in my everyday carry case right now. And I am down to, I think, 2, maybe 3 if I include the one that's hard starting, pens that have ink. But to start with, I need to swatch up some new colors, and I need to figure out how I'm splitting up my color rings, because I'm officially out of space in my first one, and I'm now at the point of needing 2, so it was so tight. Right. I need 3 of these. For now, I'm just going to actually slot them in on the other ring, because 3 cards won't make a huge difference, but I am at some point going to need to split them up properly. So, we are going to start with Aurora Borealis, which I don't actually think I like the color of. I think it's too green for what I like in ink, but it was part of the set, and so I got it anyways. That's what I want. For this, fold this in thirds, actually. Wipe off the drip. There we go. So there's Aurora Borealis. And I do still think it leans a bit too green for me. It reminds me of what is it? Bluegrass Velvet, which I have had in a pen, but is not my favorite color. I tend to lean more towards like the grays and the pastels. Which is why I'm looking for a bottle of Storied Blue. Though Celadon Cat seems like it might be pretty similar. I did way too much of it. It's more green than Storied Blue, but I'd say it falls in the same, like, color family. Clearly I have this mat for a reason. The last time I swatched inks, I dumped an entire sample bottle. This is so incredibly full. It is full to here. So there is definitely a fill difference in these bottles. Aurora Borealis is about here. But Coral Grey is much more full. I think I had a plan for what I was going to ink up, but I think that might change. Maybe not. Coral Grey might be too black for what I want right now. Not that it isn't a brilliant gray. We'll see how it dries. Everything could change as these dry. Let's see. Do I still have... Yes, I do. So this is what has been inked up in my pens. I've had a carousel in medium with story blue, which is currently being cleaned. I had a Jinhao with an architect nib in Madame Mulberry. It's currently being cleaned. My Jinhao with the bent nib, with Riveting Pond in it, is hard starting, but still technically has ink in it. So I don't know if I'll clean it or not. My KAWECO still has Dusk and Bloom, and my Parker still has Madame Mulberry in it. Neither of these two are going to change. The Parker always gets Madame Mulberry, the KAWECO always gets Dusk and Bloom. I don't think I need to re-ink the KAWECO. I think I might need to re-ink the Parker. And then I have a pen that is going to get the black waterproof ink, because I finally found, I was searching through a whole bunch of reviews, and I found one that actually mentioned that they bought it because it was a good dupe if you like the 0.05 fine liners, but you wanted something reusable. It was the best dupe they'd found. And so I bought one off of Amazon, and it's pretty similar. I would say like they're pretty similar. And so I'm going to ink it with waterproof ink and try it out for a little bit. One issue with my waterproof ink vials is that they are 2 ml vials, and with my very shaky hands, I find them really hard to use. So I'm going to save it for last, but I think so. We have Madame Mulberry and Dusk and Bloom. Yeah, Celadon Cat goes. So Celadon Cat is going to go in something. It does go. Do I want it in something though? Okay, let's figure out what I'm actually going to ink. I'm going to ink this that I got for Christmas. There's the Parker. There's the... This has ink in it. Just some's evaporated, and so it's got an air bubble. This is what's getting black. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This has 6 spots. And the KAWECO technically lives in my purse. So I still have spots for 2 more pens. Okay. 2 more pens. That's what I can ink. What do I want to ink? So something's getting Celadon Cat, something's getting black. What am I putting in the new Ferris Wheel Press pen? Do I want to put Malibu Blush? Really, I want to put Strawberry Macaron, but I'm afraid that it won't swatch the same. Like, it won't be dark enough. I did have pink eraser and things for a while. I am leaning towards Malibu Blush. Malibu Blush. Let's grab a bottle. Madame Mulberry. There's Dusk and Bloom. There's Dusk and Bloom. Oh, Peter Moss. Riveting Pond doesn't need more ink. This is my waterproof black. Just need to get rid of the air bubble. So, I have... Do I want to ink anything else up? So that gives me... Do I need a neutral? Do I want to put Earl Grey into something? Thing is, I love Peter Moss. It just doesn't go with my pastel-y color palette currently. Oh, I still need to find a pen for Celadon Cat. Oh, do I have a nib that can go in the 82 right now? I think all my feeds might be just they are. Alright. So theoretically, a feed could go in that. Or I could just ink the other Parker. The black Parker could be... Black Parker could be Diamine Earl Grey. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I put... I have the brush pen. Do I want to ink it? Do I want to ink it right now? Really, I want to ink my Architect, but I'm not going to remember to ink it later on this week. So instead, Celadon Cat is going to go in there. Great. So, now I have a plan. Plans are fantastic. This is Diamine. Earl Grey. We are going to start with inking. We're going to start with getting rid of that. We don't need that. We can get rid of this for now. Purely because I'm saving it for last. It's going to make a giant mess. I'm going to start with this. So this is a Jinhao 82, and I absolutely love it. It's got a bent nib. I use it all the time for titles. The issue is it doesn't have a great seal somewhere, and so it has a big evaporation issue. So there you go. Actually didn't make a mess. I think that's the first time I've used it and it hasn't made a mess. So that is pen number 1 going in the case. I tend to only have 1, sometimes 2 shimmer pens inked up at a time. I use my fountain pen so much for day-to-day writing that it just doesn't make sense to have a whole bunch of shimmer pens inked up. The KAWECO Sport, I think, is fine. Yeah, great. It's my bag pen. It lives in my purse. I love it. It's in mellow blue. I love the aluminum versions. I don't have the price tag for them. Though I did see somebody who ran theirs over with a forklift this week on Reddit, and if that isn't a stamp of approval for a KAWECO in aluminum, The nib was still fine. The body still unscrewed. The only thing that was damaged was the cap. Like, if that isn't a stamp of approval for an aluminum KAWECO, I don't know what is. Let's re-ink. Start first. So I love Madame Mulberry ink so much. I have 2 bottles of it. This is a bottle I bought from a store who was no longer doing samples of it, and so it's cheap. And then this is my red Canadian Parker. I have 2 Parkers. Oh yeah, it is empty. There's something. So satisfying about filling a Parker. I probably only have to re-ink this pen every couple months. I do clean it pretty frequently. Like, I clean the nib every couple weeks, but I think the last time I did a total clean of the pen was back in October. So the next time it's due to be re-inked, I'll clean it totally. But it always just gets inked with the same color, which I tend to do with all of my vintage pens, though I haven't found the perfect fit for this black Parker. I got it at Scriptus. And unlike my first Parker, it has like a slightly, like the feed is like slightly out more. I don't know if that's just a difference in the models. One is Canadian and one's American. But like, it still writes quite nicely. So I just live with the fact that it looks a little bit different. Love filling Parkers. Maybe not with an ink like this. Feels like a disaster waiting to happen with me out of this. Okay. I'm gonna live with it that full. There's still an air pocket in the sack, but I would rather not spill ink everywhere on my desk, personally. Been there, done that. Would rather not do it again. So, 2 Parkers. There is a pretty noticeable difference. I think they're both Parker 21s. One's Canadian, one's American. The Canadian one is longer and pointier. The American one is shorter and fatter. I like the feather finial on the Canadian one. I like both of them. Like, they're both lovely pens, but I think the Canadian one has my heart. It might also be because it was my first Parker. There are 2 diamond swatches down, and I'm going to leave the I know that the Diamine inks come in much larger bottles, but I personally know that I'm going to struggle to use 30 mils of the ink, and that it would just be wasteful to get an 80 ml bottle for me, and so I decided to go getting the 30 ml size. Also, I was able to get it as a set and get 2 colors that I really wanted, and one that I'm like sort of meh about, but I'm sure I will be able to find a home for it. Malibu Blush is up next. So this is the Fluttering Hearts pen. This was the Ferris Wheel Press pen last year. I don't think they've announced this year's color yet. Based on the fact that last year's Pantone color, or that this year's Pantone color is peach, and last year's was light pink, like I doubt it will be Pantone themed. But I'm still interested to see what it ends up being like. This is gonna fall. Nope. Really, I should know that by now. But like, he's just. So this is my first fully aluminum or metal pen, and I do really like it. It sort of made the desire for the all aluminum KAWECO a bit more intense. Never survive. Celadon Cat is up next, and then we're going to use my least favorite sample vials. I know people complain about the Ferris Wheel Press ones, but like, as somebody with shaky hands, at least the Ferris Wheel Press ones like have a little bit of weight to them. The 2 ml ones are so thin and so skinny and have absolutely no weight to them, and I just am constantly making a mess with them. And I think this fully submerged. Right. Celadon Cat. We've got one left. And I will, once everything's inked, I will write with all of them. Oh, okay. There is a size difference. So this is my favorite black ink. It's the Sailor Black Pigment ink. The thing about it is you really have to dedicate a pen to it, and I hadn't found one that had a thin enough nib until I came across somebody talking about this pen, and more specifically the fact that it was the closest they'd found to the nib of a 0.05 pen. So I picked one up, I tested it out. It is shockingly close. I chose it in the rainbow color because I figured that even if I didn't like, even if it wasn't a perfect fit, like size-wise, at least it would be in like a more unique color than like an all black one or the silver one. That being said, it actually works for what I need it to work for. And so I'm going to ink it up, and I'm going to test it for the next couple weeks as sort of a black fine liner and see if I can get away with using it instead of the pen I use all the time. Mostly because those pens are now shockingly expensive. I think it's between like $5.50 and $7 for one of those pens now, depending on where I get them. And they only last 6 to 8 weeks, if I'm lucky. So I need a better solution, and I'm hoping that this is it. So I these. And spilled. I've made a mess. Like, these files are just not. They're not my friend. Just bring in an air bubble. Okay. Well, if there was any question about how permanent this permanent black is, it has stained the rainbow nib. So, like, maybe the all black version would have been smarter. But I wanted something fun in case it didn't work. But I wanted it to. My hands are so stained at this moment. But that actually was probably the neatest fill I've ever had from one of those ink bottles. So the like little tray idea that I stole from somebody on Reddit, it's actually for test tubes, actually works quite well. So we're just gonna go through it and like have a little play. So this is I don't know what brand it is. I will at some point update the description of this video and leave what brand of pen it is. This needs to be shaken. All the shimmers on the inside. I love this pen. It's such a fun pen, and I think it's the cheapest way to get a bent nib is on one of these pens if you're wanting to try it. This is FWP. This is FWP. Oh no, it's Park or something. But I got it off of Facebook Marketplace and I've never actually figured out what it is. I'm just gonna call it Parker Red. That's how I'm gonna differentiate the two Parkers, which is pretty much how I differentiate the two Parkers. I think it's probably, this is probably a medium and this is probably a fine, just based on the fact that that's an extra fine. This is gray, black. This is FWP. That doesn't look right. Blush. Okay. This is Jubilee. Oh, what color is this? This is Celadon Cat. Medium. And then this is my pocket pen. This is FWP. Just in Bloom. And medium. So, like, clearly medium is a favorite nib size for me. I do like fine and extra fine, and I am a fan of a fun size of nib, so normally on top of having a bent nib, I just have an architect nib in this, or a stub, but it's another Jinhao 82, and while I've got the body of the 82, all the nibs are currently drying, and I do have other nibs that go in the feeds, but the feeds are attached to the nibs that are currently drying, and the feeds are wet as well. So for now, it's maybe like a little stretch of more practical nibs, but fun colors. I sort of wish I had chosen a darker pink, just like going with the rest of the colors. This pink's a bit too light, but I don't know if I have a pink that's like moody enough to fit in with everything else. And it does go quite nicely with the pen's body. I'm also unsure about Diamine Earl Grey. I don't know that I needed it. I think I would have rather chosen something more fun, but I'm interested to try out the two Diamine colors for the next little stretch and see how I like them. I don't know that this pocket pen will ever be anything other than Ferris Wheel Press Dusk and Bloom, mostly because it's just my favorite go-to color for like easy to read practical writing that's still a fun shade. Same with Madame Mulberry. They've both been pretty constant in Devon pens for a few months now. Madame Mulberry since the summer at some point, and then Ferris Wheel Press Dusk and Bloom since Scriptus. Had this pen since Scriptus, and that's all this pen has ever had in it. And this pen has been inked since Scriptus. So, yeah, that is what I'm using for the next little stretch. I'm hoping to be able to get a bottle of this Sailor ink. I'm on a restock list, but I haven't been notified that it's back in stock yet. and I can't find it anywhere other than Wonder Pens. I don't want to buy more sample vials because clearly they're not my friends to use. Like, I'm okay with the 5 ml ones that get 4 mls of ink. Like, those work pretty well. Like, I've got enough space and they've got a larger footprint. Like, they're harder to tip. Like, they're still tippy, but they're harder to tip. And they fit perfectly into the tray. So they don't move as much. But these little ones are not. They're not my friend. So hopefully I'll be able to find a replacement shortly. Other than that, though, I think I'm pretty well set. I have significantly less ink on my hands than I thought I'd have. And unlike last time, I didn't spill an entire sample vial of ink, which has to be considered a win. Because that was a bit of a disaster. So I hope you enjoyed watching. Let me know if you would have changed which pens you inked or which colors. I find that I'm much more picky with my fountain pen inks. I've got such a large collection of watercolors, and yet when it comes to fountain pen inks, at least when I'm buying them for myself, like, I'm much more selective than when it comes to watercolors, which I find quite interesting. It's weird to see how the two different hobbies are approached. So my collection of inks grows with every new Ferris Wheel Press release, thanks to Jubilee. I am branching out though. Like, there's Diamine inks now. There's some from other brands. There's a lot of samples from other brands. But the Diamine and the Script is Showing, I think, are my first full bottles from other brands. So I'm trying new things. So I do. These two are still... nothing has come close to beating Ferris Wheel Press, Dusk and Bloom, and Madame Mulberry as my favorite colors to have in pens. So hopefully, well, I've got two 38 ml bottles of Dusk and Bloom of Madame Mulberry, and Dusk and Bloom only goes in my KAWECO, so I think I'm gonna have a stash of them for a while, luckily. But I think this is where we end. Thank you for watching. Yeah, I like having all my pens sort of inked up that I use. I try to keep, it's more than normal, I try to keep it between like 4 and 5, but because I want to try a new black and the Diamine inks, but I also like want the stuff that I know I'll use. It's a bit more than I normally have, but I think that's will still be fine. So, thanks for watching. Let me know what inks you would add to the collection. Let me know what pens I should try next. I love this rainbow one. Mostly I just love the color of it. And the fact that it has such a fine tip. So, thanks for watching.